Welcome and hello everybody to this section. I'm Rooj from the Department of ENGL and Faculty of Humanities, and today I'll give you an introduction on the course and its assignments that I took last year. So let me begin by giving a short introduction on the course itself. So the name of the course is Intercultural Communication. Let me begin by asking what intercultural communication is. When I asked you this, probably the word culture is something that stands out to you the most because it's something that is typically heard. It's quite often used, right? The word culture. But let's try to understand what exactly is culture, and we'll come back to what is this intercultural communication course, okay? So culture is aspect of our identities. It is known as identities that is shared among groups of people because we share similar norms and values and also history. I want to ask, can you give me an example of what is a shared history in Hong Kong? Can you think of an example? Shared history, culture in Hong Kong? Maybe I can give you a hint. So Mid-Autumn Festival, right? Hong Kong people share this history of celebrating this pattern of festival where kids play with lanterns, people decorate their houses, we eat mooncakes, and so on. It is part of our identity that Hong Kongers share this celebration. And we know this, we acknowledge this, and we have recognized this as our tradition. It's because of the mark of this public holiday on the calendar as well that we know that, oh, Mid-Autumn Festival is Hong Kongers festival, right? So anyways, this is just a briefing on what culture is in general. But remember that culture is not just related to national aspects, culture is not just related to national aspects like different kinds of food, the clothing, the traditions, but it's also, we have culture in organizational setting. So for example, let's say universities, workplaces, or maybe schools, they have their own culture and they have their own values there. Coming back to our course title, Intercultural Communication, we know that culture is about shared values, communication is about exchange of information, and inter just means between. So basically saying communication taking place between different cultures. So to reiterate, by talking about intercultural communication, we are majorly focusing on the way of our communication or interaction that take place between people of different cultures. And what we find is that because of our cultural perception difference in those, it influences the way we communicate. And how does that happen? That is basically the objective of this course, to find out what is the relation between culture and communication. Now, I want to emphasize why there is the need to study intercultural communication. Can you think of any answers? Well, first thing, globalization. As mentioned before, communication occurs differently in different settings. For example, let's say organization like business, medical institute, law firms, education institute, we have different way of communicating in those settings. But besides that, we live in a globalized world where we often come in contact with different people across different countries. Like for example, in Hong Kong, we cannot say that, oh, only locals live in Hong Kong, only Chinese people live in Hong Kong. We often come in contact with many different people. So because of globalization, we want to educate ourselves by increasing our cultural sensitivity. To live harmoniously, we want to normalize the fact that we live in a place where there aren't just us, there aren't just our kinds of people, but there are different kinds of people as well. So we should be aware that international society opinions can be varied. And That's because of the social background that we come from. There's differences in that. And last but not the least, we want to avoid ethnocentrism, which means that thinking of one's culture is superior than others. So all these points just come into consideration when talking about intercultural communication. It's just not just for effective communication, but it is also to be self-aware about the differences. So our learning outcome of this course is pretty straightforward. We want to dive into different social aspects to find out about how different culture influences the process of socialization and how socialization affects the way we communicate with others. Regarding the assessment, which probably most of you are more interested in knowing about, so we have two types of assignment, case study and final essay. So first, in case study, we just have to do a scenario analysis where we will have to use theories to explain why in different contexts, for example, different maybe schools or different work field like medical or law firms, why do we use certain way of communication? We have to analyze that. And for final essay, we just have to do prompt analysis, which is about, depending on the content, for example, maybe you're at school or you're at a business setting, why do you speak in a certain way? We have to justify that using the theories that we are taught in the class. And then coming to class activities, it's a fun class. I'm not just saying this because I want to promote my faculty, but it is really fun class because it's not just exam oriented, but it really gives opportunities for students to give out their own outputs. So there's like group discussion going on. And personally, from my personal experience, I enjoyed this course because actually for me, I had to do online class because of the COVID situation last year. So there was no face-to-face class. And I thought that, oh, it's going to be online cultural study and then we're doing online. I was a bit skeptic. I thought that it was going to be, okay, boring, but it wasn't that case. It wasn't dull. It wasn't like the traditional teaching style where teachers keep on talking and students just listen. But actually, in reality, we really got the opportunity for outputs. We got to speak up, share our experience, our thoughts and knowledges as well. So there were some days when we didn't have class discussion, but some days we did have class discussions as well. But whether or not we had it or not, overall, I enjoyed the class because I just found myself being really motivated in learning because of the course itself. And I hope that when you join this course, you will also find it interesting. So that is all for my sharing, and thank you. I hope to see you in PolyU soon. So that is all. Thank you.